T-minus 13 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's start the stream.
Chapter 16. Ryder was sitting on a boulder while Justin and Jake talked. His legs ached from walking for a long time. Jake and Justin were leaning against the cave wall as they spoke. They were trying to figure out what to do until help could arrive in the morning. Ryder suggested they could walk through the woods, but Jake warned about bears and wolves, so the idea was turned down. Ryder looked out the entrance of the cave. Tall trees didn't let him see 100 feet ahead. Above their heads, the Milky Way galaxy shone all of its glory. The cool air made the situation seem calmer than it was. For a second, Ryder forgot that they were lost in the woods with finite food and water. Then he heard some shuffling from inside the cave. He instantly got up and turned around. Jake and Justin got up as well. "What's wrong?" they asked in unison. "Something's in the cave," Ryder replied. The three men huddled up and faced the cave. Justin picked up a broken branch like a baseball bat, and Jake raised his fist. The shuffling continued. Ryder's heart began racing, beating faster against his ribs. He hoped it wasn't a bear, but he wasn't sure. The shuffle stopped, and two animals jumped over a boulder into view. All three of the men jumped before they realized who the creatures were. "Wait," Ryder said, pushing through. "It's Chase and Marshall." "Ryder," Chase and Marshall said in unison. The pups ran up to the boy and tackled him to the ground, licking his face. Ryder laughed as their tongues tickled him. Jake and Justin laughed. Chase and Marshall eventually got off a Ryder and went to Jake and Justin. The pups were pet and scratched behind the ear. "Nice job finding us," Jake said. "By the way, how did you find us?" "Chase followed the scent of your beef jerky," Marshall replied. All the way from the cabin?" Jake asked as he pulled the jerky packet out of his pocket. It still had a few pieces inside it, so Jake offered them to the pups. Chase and Marshall gladly accepted the jerky. "Yeah," Chase said with his mouth full of jerky. "It has a strong smell." He swallowed the jerky and licked his teeth. "The taste is better than the smell, though." Everyone laughed at the joke. "Well, then," Justin said. "But now we gotta wait till morning for all of us to return. None of us know the way back." "We do," Chase said. "We could find the way back." "Right, Marshall?" "Yeah," Marshall said. Justin and Ryder were shocked to see how well the pups treated each other. "Well, then," Justin said. "Lead the way, pups." Half an hour later, all five arrived back at the cabin. Thanks to Chase's sense of smell, they didn't walk near places where bears roamed. "Thanks a lot, pups," Jake said. "Do you guys want to stay here for the night?" "We would," Ryder replied, "but my mom must be worried sick." Jake shrugged. "Makes sense." "Oh, wait." He ran into the cabin and reappeared outside with a basket full of blue fruits. "These are the bayberries I told you about," Jake said. "Take this as a thank you gift." Ryder grabbed the basket. "Thanks, Jake," he said. Justin, Ryder, and the pups hopped into the cruiser, waved goodbye to Jake, and headed back down the mountain. I gotta say, Justin said, I'm proud of you guys. You were able to find us by yourself. And to think that last week, you both were at each other's throats. Now, you're what? Best friends or something? Chase and Marshall looked at each other and came to a silent agreement. They may have their differences, but that didn't matter. They were going to have each other's back forever. If one of them needed help, the other one would be there. They no longer felt the jealousy or anger they had a week prior. Justin was right. Chase and Marshall were enemies in the beginning, but all that changed. Now, the two pups were more than best friends. They were family. They went from rivals to brothers. 1. Yeah, Chase and Marshall said in unison. Well, that's great to hear, Justin said. You know, I think you two are ready to join us again on missions. What do you think, Ryder? Yeah, Ryder said. Totally. Chase and Marshall smiled since they returned to helping people after a long time. They were going to do it together, alongside Ryder and Justin. They were going to start a team. A Paw Patrol. 1. Continue to Chapter 17. Ryder, Chase, and Marshall went on many missions during the following 2 months. With more people being recruited at Adventure City and nearby towns, Justin left town a lot, leaving the three with all the assignments. But they didn't mind. Ryder, Chase, and Marshall found it an opportunity to bond and learn. With some funding that the townspeople gave the group, Ryder bought a used ATV and modified it to his liking. Chase and Marshall helped him by bringing him tools and whatever he needed. If they didn't have missions or weren't helping Ryder with his ATV, Chase and Marshall were either playing together or finishing up the tower's exterior walls. Chase was given the police uniform, and Marshall got the firefighter uniform for their hard work. Ryder made some specialized pup packs for both of them. Chase's pup pack contained a grappling hook, megaphone, and ball launcher. It was just a prototype version. Marshall's pup pack transformed into water cannons. Using the grappling hook, Chase climbed down the side of the tower and painted the upper half. Marshall used his water cannon, which he replaced with paint, to finish up the bottom half. Chase and Marshall finished the outer walls in 2 days, and the tower was complete. When Justin returned from his latest trip, he passed by the tower and was in awe at how it looked. The three of you finished this in 2 days? He asked. Actually, it was just Chase and Marshall, Ryder replied. I was working on other projects. Justin looked down at Chase and Marshall. Really? He asked. Yes, sir, we did, Chase replied. Crazy what a bit of teamwork can do. Well, great job, Justin said. It looks amazing. Thanks, Chase and Marshall said in unison. So, Dad, Ryder interrupted. Didn't you have something to tell us? Oh, right, Justin said. I accepted a job in a small town no more than an hour from here. I'm going to pull out of retirement since I'm still in my late 30s and become the sheriff of the town. That's amazing, Ryder said. Sir, Chase said. What about this tower? I mean, we worked very hard on it. That you did, Justin agreed. That's why I asked the mayor to fund a new emergency services team to work from here. Who's going to be in it? Marshall asked. Well, you three are going to start it, Justin said. You will live and work from here. Ryder is going to be the leader. Chase and Marshall are going to be the first members. First? Chase and Marshall asked. Well, when the time comes, the team will need to expand for more challenging missions. But that will come when Ryder deems it necessary. What about you and my mom? Ryder asked. Won't you guys live with us? No, Ryder, Justin said. We're going to be moving to the small town I mentioned earlier. But we'll visit and call, checking up on you frequently. So we're going to live alone? Chase asked. For now, Justin replied. But something tells me that it may change in the future. But then again, it's your choice. You can either start an emergency service here or come with us. Ryder, Chase, and Marshall looked at each other. They knew that it would be tough to start a team alone. But it will be necessary. Every town should have an emergency service, and Adventure Bay needed one. There will be struggles, but at least they won't be alone. Together, no job will be too big, and no pup will be too small. We'll stay, they said in unison. Justin smiled. I was hoping you would say that. I'll go contact the mayor now. He pulled out his phone and called the mayor. Hello, Mayor Goodway? They agreed to stay and start the team. There was a pause, and then Justin looked at Ryder, Chase, and Marshall. What's the name of the team? Ryder, Chase, and Marshall looked at each other. They haven't thought about that yet. It had to be something easy to remember, yet it stood out. Something that used the fact that they were a group of pups and a boy that was ready to protect and serve Adventure Bay. What about Paw Patrol? Chase asked. That's a great idea, Chase, Ryder commented. Yeah, Marshall agreed. Justin smiled. Paw Patrol, it is, Justin said on the phone. Yes, Mayor, we will. Thank you. Bye. Justin hung up the phone with the mayor. Ryder, Marshall, and Chase helped load things into boxes for the rest of the week and the following week. They took some stuff from Ryder's old house to the tower, which they agreed to call the Lookout. They loaded the rest of the boxes and items into a moving truck. It was time for Ryder's parents to leave Adventure Bay. Good luck, Ryder, Ryder's mom said as she hugged him. Make sure to call every day. We will visit as much as we can. I will, Mom, Ryder replied. Justin walked up and hugged his son. Remember, people are going to look up to you, he said. You're going to have to make some difficult decisions. But I believe in you. We love you, Ryder. I love you, too, Dad, Ryder replied. Ryder's parents got into the cruiser and drove off, with the driver of the moving truck following them close behind. Ryder, Chase, and Marshall stood at the end of the bridge until they could no longer see the vehicles. The sun began to rise over the horizon. What now, Ryder? Chase asked. Ryder looked at him and Marshall. I'm not sure, Ryder said. But whatever we do, we're going to do it together. They began walking back to the lookout. You know, Ryder said. I have a surprise for you both. Really? Chase and Marshall asked at the same time. Yeah, Ryder replied. Come on. Ryder led them to the garage door and opened it up. Inside were two brand new vehicles. One of them was blue, and the other one was red. The blue car was shaped like a box, while the red one was more stretched out. They both came with sirens with stickers on them. The blue car had a sticker of a bone with the number 2 in the middle of it. The red one had the number 3 instead of 2. These are your new vehicles, Ryder explained. Chase, yours is the blue one, and Marshall, yours is the red one. I will teach you how to drive and use the different mechanisms. Chase and Marshall didn't know what to say. They hopped into the driver's seats and looked at all the buttons and controls. When did you make these? Marshall asked. I had a lot of free time, Ryder said. So, what do you say? ready to make the world a better place. Chase looked at Marshall, who nodded, agreeing. Chase looked back at Ryder and said, "Ready for action, Ryder, sir." End of story. Ryder looked over the pups. And that was the beginning of the Paw Patrol as we know it. Continue to next part. Add. New. Chapter 18, Final. And that was the beginning of the Paw Patrol as we know it, Ryder said. The pups couldn't believe what they heard. They never would have guessed that so much happened when the team was made solely of Chase, Marshall, and Ryder. "Wait a minute," Rocky exclaimed. "So, Chase and Marshall used to hate each other?" "Yeah," Ryder replied. "And you were jealous of each other?" Rubble asked. "Yup," Marshall answered. "And you two fought each other?" Zuma added. "We'd rather not think about it, but we did," Chase replied. "And that was before you even met Sky, right?" Liberty asked. Chase saved her a month after that, Ryder explained. She was out in the woods being chased by a large dog when Chase stepped in. If it wasn't for him, Sky would have never joined us and become the fourth member of the Paw Patrol. For the story of how Chase saves Sky, check out Chapter 7 of my other book, Race Against Time. 1. And I will always be grateful for that, Sky added. She and Chase smiled at each other. They stared at each other for a quick second before looking away. So, Chase was always the second in command? Ever since the beginning? Liberty asked. Well, not exactly, Ryder said. But you said the number 2 was on Chase's cruiser from the beginning. That didn't mean much at the time, Chase explained. It just meant that Ryder was the first member, I was the second member, and Marshall was the third. It wasn't until Rocky and Zuma joined when I was appointed second in command. And it was Ryder's mom who made you two become friends, right? Liberty asked. Chase and Marshall looked at each other. I guess so, Marshall said. If it wasn't for her, we probably still would have been rivals instead of brothers. Ryder, do you still talk to your parents every day? Ryder shrugged. I kinda changed to once a week, but yeah. I still talk to them. Okay, Liberty said. But how? We would love to answer the rest of your questions, Ryder interrupted. Both he and Chase were wondering how she had so many questions. I'm the detective pup, Chase thought. And not even I have that many questions. It's getting dark out, Chase commented. Everyone looked outside and realized Chase was right. We're going to need our strengths tomorrow, so it's time to head to bed, he continued. Yeah, the mayor will probably have many things planned, Ryder said. Okay, the pups said. They told each other good night and left for their pup houses. Since Liberty slept in the Adventure City Tower, Ryder let her sleep in the guest bedroom for the night. Chase tried going to sleep, but something prevented him from doing so. He twisted and turned, but he couldn't keep his eyes closed. He eventually gave up and walked out of his pup house. Chase walked around the lookout and ended up on the cliff that overlooked the town. He sat there, watching as the waves hit the beach in the distance and at the sleeping town below. His eyes perked up when he heard rustling behind him. A certain Dalmatian walked through the bushes and sat down next to him. I thought you were going to be here, Marshall said. You've been coming here for as long as I can remember. Chase sighed. I know. It's so peaceful and calm here. It helps me clear my mind. It's my favorite spot in the entire town. I could tell, Marshall said. What are you thinking about? The past, Chase replied. Telling them the story reminded me of how much has changed. For one, I'm no longer alone. Chase, you were never alone, Marshall comforted. Ryder and Justin were always there for you. I was there too, eventually. I know that, Chase replied. But I'm talking about being alone in the streets. Being that scared, small puppy. I sometimes wonder what would have happened if Ryder never saved me. You don't have to worry about that, Chase, Marshall said. We're all here for you. I know, Chase said. Another thing I was thinking about was our fight. At the farm and at the house. My head hurt for days after that, Marshall said jokingly. Chase winced at the memory. Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm sorry for things I said and did, Marshall. It was not right of me to do that. I still regret it. Don't worry about it, Chase, Marshall said. It's in the past. Trust me, I regret things, too. But we have to move from that, okay? We'll do it together. Chase looked over at Marshall. Thanks, Marshall. I'm glad to be able to call you my brother. Me too, Chase, Marshall replied. They both sat silently for a while, staring out into the distance. Marshall decided to break the silence. What do you think your old owner with the red truck is doing? He asked. Chase kept his gaze forward. Most likely, after Adventure City, he's regretting abandoning me as a pup now that I'm a hero. Do you regret it? Not one bit, Marshall, Chase replied. Not one bit.
Yoo-hoo! We have another story done for today. Today we have completed the story of Rivers Two Brothers, a Pup Patrol story by the ThreadyRumble. And to watch the whole entire story, you can now check it out on my playlist on my YouTube channel. And I will maybe soon bring another new story, but I don't know which one. But I'm gonna try to find one as soon as possible, and I will give you an update when I have found one. Until then, guys, have a nice night, and I'll see you again next time. Until then, goodbye. Okay, stream is over. Let's finish the stream. Copy. Before we go, I'm gonna give you one question, guys. What was the best part of the story? Please comment down below, and hopefully I will respond sometime. Sometimes I will respond stuff to you guys, and maybe I will try to find